Hyundai Elantra. It is one of the best known nameplates in the entire Hyundai catalog, and today I'm going to show you a few of the differences between the 2025 model. So if you're considering getting one, you might as well watch this video until the end. But I figured I'd start at the beginning and show you the package 1, or the standard equipment version of the 2025 Elantra, the Elantra SE. Now, most manufacturers view their basic cars as the cost-effective car, but I think they fall into the trap of cutting a little too much corners. For example, most cars that I've ever owned looked nice, but they always had hubcaps, and it made me feel a little extra broke every single time I saw it. But Hyundai went the other way, because every single model, including the Elantra SE, has real rims, so that way no matter what you could afford, you can be proud of what you're driving. Next thing I want to do is open up the hood to show you the engine. Every single Elantra SE is going to have this power plant. It is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, which gives you about 147 horsepower, which is pretty fair in a car of its size. But something even better is that this vehicle will give you over 30 miles per gallon of fuel if you're driving in the city, and over 40 miles per gallon if you happen to be driving on the highway. So if you got some best buddies at the gas station, they'll probably start to miss you because your fill-ups will be few and far between. Now, this body style has actually been out since 2024, and it continues strong in 2025 models. But one of the things that I remember reading was that the whole design motif of the slight redesign was the whole shark nose concept. Now, I think you could really see it from the front perspective, because not only do you have the long drooping nose, but you also have the very wide hood as well, which brings me to my next point. The Elantra is actually super comfy and roomy inside. Now, if you happen to spin around back, you can see that the rear, 25% of the entire vehicle is just trunk. So if you have a lot of everyday items, pop open the trunk and fill it up with whatever you need. But for argument's sake, let's say it's not an everyday item. No worries. Go ahead and fold that seat down, and voila, you have tons of space for whatever it is that you need if cargo room is a concern. But what about the people room? I'm glad you asked, because if you actually throw those seats back up, you will notice a lot of rear leg room, which really helps the Elantra stand apart in its entire vehicle category. And not to mention, again, this simple model actually has 2 USB-Cs for any passenger in back. Continuing our forward progress through the Elantra, I wanted to use this time to talk about the safety, because even on this quote-unquote basic model, the Elantra SE is still packed with safety conveniences. One of those conveniences being blind spot sensors. So if you happen to be driving along, the mirrors will illuminate red if anybody's in your blind spot, which is a huge help, especially in traffic. Another great thing is that every single Elantra has forward collision avoidance assist, which is just a long way of saying the car will hit the brakes for you if you don't have enough time to react. Another great thing, like many other vehicles, the Elantra has lane keeping assist that will help you keep in the lane in case you happen to be drifting off to one side or the other. But something extra on top of that is lane follow assist. Lane follow assist actually ensures that the vehicle will be planted in the center of the lane, so that way it's not only helping at highway speeds, it's actually helping at neighborhood or college campus speeds as well. Now, aside from having class-leading safety and comfort and space, the Elantra has something else, which is class-leading connectivity, and I am not just talking about the Bluetooth. If I were to tell you that the Elantra is the only vehicle in its class to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I would be lying, because basically everybody happens to have it. But something that not everybody has, something that even luxury car buyers come to expect, the first 2 levels of the 2025 Elantra happen to have wireless compatibility with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Being that you're still here, I'm guessing that the SE has whet your appetite, but maybe, just maybe, you want a little bit more, and I'm glad that Hyundai is ready to oblige, because once you graduate from the SE, you land in the Elantra SEL Sport. True to the name, the SEL Sport includes some sport touches that the SE just does not. For example, one of the biggest exterior tells is that the Elantra SEL Sport has the 17-inch rims as opposed to the 15-inch rims that you find on the SE. Another few things, if you notice, you're going to have some blacked out treatments on the rear mirror housings, the shark fin antenna on top, and around back you're also going to see the black spoiler. Another difference is that the SEL Sport has the new Hyundai Smart Key. The SE has the traditional switchblade key that allows you to lock, unlock, pop the trunk, and even hit the panic button. But when you go to the Hyundai logo Smart Key, not only does it look a little bit more sleeker, but it also allows you to turn the vehicle on remotely. Besides remotely starting the vehicle, on the inside, you'll notice that you also do have a push-button start, which makes the car feel more modern and is really convenient, meaning that you don't even need to touch your key to drive down the road. Another great thing that the SEL Sport brings is the dual-zone air conditioning, so that way passenger and driver can enjoy their own individual air temps. Now, something great is that if you happen to look under those AC controls, you're going to see the wireless charging pad. Yes, the SEL Sport is the first package that brings wireless charging standard, so if you don't happen to have that old cable, if your phone is compatible with wireless charging, you don't need one. Historically speaking, the vehicle that usually follows the SE, which in this case is going to be the SEL Sport, tends to be one of the most popular vehicles, and so far, it seems to be that way with my personal sales record. And by the way, I really do sell cars here in Orlando, so if you want a local hookup, all you got to do is click the link below that says Schedule with Miguel, make an appointment, and then come on in. Whether it be somebody on my team or even myself, we'll do everything we can to show you the vehicle, help you select it, and even give you quotes before you leave. That way you know everything you need to know before you make that all-important decision. But now that you know one of the best people to get it from, all you got to do is come in and let me help you. But now that you know that, let's get back to these Elantras. Now that you know all that there is about the SEL Sport, I want to focus on its technologically more advanced bigger brother, the SEL Convenience. Now, in 2025, Hyundai decided to take the Convenience package and make it its own trim level called the SEL Convenience, and there is a lot to know about it, so let's dive in. In essence, the SEL Convenience keeps what works and also replaces the things that kind of holds the car back, at least technologically speaking. For example, you still have that shark nose front end and the 17-inch rims, but you also notice, if you look on top, the inclusion of a sunroof. So if you're one of those people that has to have a sunroof, your first stop on the Elantra list is going to be the SEL Convenience. Now, if you happen to look lower on the grille, you're going to notice this squarish or rectangular-ish piece of plastic. Well, what is that? That happens to be the radar of your vehicle. Why would the Convenience need a radar? That is because the SEL Convenience is the first Elantra to actually include adaptive cruise control. That way, if you happen to be taking a long trip down the highway, you can adjust your cruise control and the vehicle itself can adjust your speed depending on traffic conditions, and all you really have to do is drive. Design-wise, those two things are pretty minor as far as the sunroof and the adaptive cruise control thing. But if you happen to open up the door, you're going to see a major change, and that is going to be the dash, because in the SEL Convenience, you are going to get dual 10.25-inch screens. One of those screens is going to be the driver's information display. That shows you things like RPM and speeds and other things of that nature that are pertinent to driving the car. Fun fact, if you happen to hit the drive mode button on the vehicle, that entire screen can change design so you know exactly what mode you're in whenever you're in it. If you happen to look over at the other screen though, that is going to be your controls for the infotainment display. So you can scroll left, scroll right, but something new. In the SEL Convenience, you also have built-in GPS. It is not only reliant on your phone, so if you happen to be on a long road trip and your phone is pretty much in a dead spot, you have the car's own GPS to help navigate you to wherever it is that you need to go. Although the screens don't reach from door panel to door panel, the interior ambient lighting strip actually does. Controlled from that center console, you could choose from one of 64 different colors that will suit your mood and the entire ambiance of the car, no matter what you want it to be. Now I'd like to talk about comfort and convenience. So if you happen to look at the steering wheel, you'll notice that it is a leather wrapped steering wheel, making it look and feel very good in your hand. Another great thing is that you also do have heated seats, so if it's a chilly day or your back is just hurting, turn on those seat warmers and start enjoying your time. But something else that really takes convenience to the next level is Hyundai's BlueLink Plus. BlueLink Plus finally makes owners feel like they're living in the future. If you happen to have forgotten where your car is parked, go into the vehicle finder section of your app and find out exactly where you left it. Now let's say that your car's been baking in the sun or freezing in the snow. Well, you don't have to get out of your house extra early to pre-warm or cool it. Just punch in a few things to the climate control section and your car will get ready for you instead of you having to get ready for your car. And if you want to take it to another futuristic level, if you happen to have Alexa or Google Home, you can actually connect BlueLink Plus. That way you can talk to your smart home to turn on your smart Elantra. Now, one of the best parts about that is that for 2025 model year Elantras, it's actually complimentary for life. So literally, all you got to do is download and enjoy. Now, most of the automakers would see the SEL Convenience and say, wow, that's great, it has tons of technology and oodles of space, we're going to stop here because that is good enough. But Hyundai, they don't do just good enough, they do the best they can. So, if you're not satisfied with the SEL Convenience, come with me so I can introduce you to the most luxurious Elantra. That is going to be the 2025 Elantra Limited. The Elantra Limited is basically a mashup of all the techie stuff that you come to find in a convenience, except it gives you features that are usually reserved for cars of a higher category. For example, to the untrained eye, the Elantra Convenience and the Limited are basically indistinguishable. They have the same shark nose design, you even have the same size rims at a glance, but there is a way to tell them apart, because if you happen to look at the wing mirrors on the Limited, you'll notice that the mirrors actually have turn signals integrated into them, so that way at a quick glance, you can tell them apart. Now you can see it from most angles on the side and even the front, but what about that rear end? Well, luckily with Hyundai, all you have to do is look at the trunk, because not only will it say Elantra, it will also say Limited. If you're expecting the Limited to be an extreme departure from the lower models, you might be disappointed, because it's essentially the same vehicle, but we all know it's the little things that count in the end. And if you look on the inside, you're going to see one of the biggest little things, and that is the leather interior. Hyundai calls this their H-Tex interior, and it really takes the quality up a notch when you actually happen to see the inside of the vehicle. Luckily, the Limited goes way beyond just having leather and some turn signals, because as a driver, you're going to love this next feature. It is the electric driver's seat. So if you happen to be stuck in traffic and you need that little adjustment, you can either push the seat forward or back or lift it up and down. That way finding the sweet spot is as easy as can be. You'll remember that I said the Elantra Limited basically builds upon all the success of the SEL Convenience, but gives it extra stuff, and you'll be happy to know that the wireless charging pad has actually been tweaked. Of course, it will still charge up your cell phones, but something else that's built in is called Digital Key 2. That means that you can turn your phone into a key and drive your car around. I repeat, no physical key fob is necessary. You could literally use your phone and drive around, and then when you're done, you can go back home. Something else that I just mentioned, you may have already noticed by now, or maybe not. As I pull back, you can see that the driver and passenger door panels are two totally different colors. This is not a defect. It is supposed to be like this because the designers really wanted to emphasize the driving area of the Elantra to make it feel more like you're piloting the vehicle as opposed to just driving the vehicle, really enhancing that cockpit sensation and separation from the passenger compartment. Now, I always like to mention the sound system, because when you go Limited, you get phenomenal sound with the Bose speakers. So whether you're just listening to a little bit of talk radio, or if you're really pumping up the bass, those Bose speakers are really going to come through clutch, and you're going to love whatever you're listening to. As you can see, with all these comfortable and standard features, the Elantra Limited is the best Elantra for you if you happen to be looking for luxury. But let's go ahead and say luxury isn't really your speed. Let's go ahead and say that speed is more your speed. Well, Hyundai thought of that too, so it is my honor to introduce the 2025 Elantra NLine. Up until this point, there have been a lot of cool and sporty features on the car, including the SEL Sport, which looks the part, but the NLine, I would say, actually is the part, because there's a few upgrades that no other Elantra before actually offers. As you can see for yourself, I don't really have to say much, because the Elantra NLine just looks amazing. From the NLine badges all around the vehicle, to the bumpers, and even down to those big old 18-inch blacked out rims, it just looks like it's ready to rumble, and I am all for it. Now, speaking of those rims, like I mentioned, they are 18-inch rims, and Hyundai probably could have got away with putting on 17s, but then again, Hyundai might have needed the space that the 18s give to put the bigger brakes, because the NLine actually does have 12-inch brakes in the front to help slow it down if you happen to be driving it pretty sporty. But why would you need to slow down with bigger brakes if it only looks sporty? Like I said, the NLine actually is sporty, because this has a 1.6 liter turbocharged engine that cranks out 201 horsepower, and I actually like the homage that they're playing, because this is the same engine that you found in the Hyundai Veloster turbos back in the day before they put it to rest. So I'm glad that a piece of the Veloster lives on in the Elantra NLine. And I'm not even done talking about that powertrain, because Hyundai could have given you a regular automatic transmission, but they decided to give you the best they could and put in a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, so that way you can get the quickest shifts possible by pulling those paddle shifters. And since shifting is a part of driving the car, I figured I'd just dive on in and show you the beauty of that interior. Now, not only do the designers try to make the car look good, but they actually try to make it practical at the same time. And of course, driving a sporty car, one practical thing is going to be grip. So as you notice, the steering wheel and even the shifter have these little dimpled patterns on there. So if you happen to be driving and your hands are sweaty, you can have the best grip possible. Now, that's just what you can see looking forward, but if you happen to turn around and look back, you'll be in love with these seats. At least I know I am, because you have this half cloth, half leather interior, which really makes the car stand apart. Now, I do sell Hyundais and I love the model, but I'm not going to sit here and say the Elantra NLine is the only car you should consider. But if you're looking for a car like this, it's to definitely be on your short list. And so guys, those are some of the biggest differences between the 2025 Hyundai Elantras. And no, I didn't talk about every single little detail of every single piece of the car because it would take way too long and I'm too fun for that. But if you're wondering, where is the Elantra N? Where is the performance one? That car is so fire, I made its own standalone video. So click right here in the little banner or in the video description link below so that way you could watch it. And yes, I know it's a 2024. That's because I'm recording this in 2024. And what I'm waiting for is the US launch of the Elantra N TCR, which should be absolutely fire. And as soon as we get one, I'm making a video on that. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share so that way you can see the newest videos as soon as I launch them. But till next time, I'm a Garrett Car Guy, and I'll see you soon.